you had two attempts to get into the SAS. I'm curious what you learned from your first attempt at getting in, and then what kind of changed between that time and then actually getting in then in the following selection.
Yeah, the first time I've got two photographs. One is of me as a 21-year-old, uh, slightly chubby-faced paratrooper, full of his own self-importance, turning up on SAS selection in summer 1978. In the photograph, I look like a pretty standard soldier, and I get out there and I do the whole month, the first month, and the test week, which is 5 days at the end of that first month. This is only the beginning. It's only the first month of 12. Um, they have test week. And test week, if you combine the distances of the 5 days, it's the equivalent of doing a marathon every day for 5 days with weight on your back that increases from 35 to 55, plus your rifle, plus your water, plus your weapon. And you do it alone over the mountains in whatever weather is there. And the times adjust according to the weather, but you do it alone. And on the first occasion, I got to the nearly to the end of day 4, and my back was bleeding from two ulcers that had burned into my back from the rubbing of the heavy Bergen. I was alone. It was pouring with rain. I hadn't seen anybody for hours. I had to get to the final checkpoint. And I started to think about the 40 miler that would be taking place the next day rather than focusing on the moment. And it all got to me, and I went back to the previous checkpoint and voluntarily withdrew. And I thought, right, be on the truck the next day, on the train, get back to Hereford, get back to Aldershot, and away you go. But they called me into the office, said, look, we think you've got potential. We know about your back. The medic told us. Would you like to stay for another 4 months and try again in January 79? And the second photograph of the second selection at the beginning, I've had 4 months just 25 miles from the Welsh mountains where I've got the freedom to get up every morning, go to the swimming pool, swim 1,000 meters, run 8 miles after breakfast, get a Land Rover, go to the mountains, spend all day in the mountains, 5 or 6 days a week, which I loved. And by the time you get to January 1979, it looks like two different people. My neck's thicker, my skin's swarthy. I look like an athlete, and I needed to be one, and I was ready for it the second time. And on the second occasion, only 8 of us actually passed. So by the end of the year, because it's not just that physical part in the mountains. You go on to do continuation training in the jungle. You go on from the jungle to do combat survival instructor training, and then you finish that. And then if you're not already a paratrooper, you do your parachute training, and then you join your squadron on probation. And then during the next 6 months, you have to pass a troop skill and a personal skill. The troop skill for me was mountain climbing, and the second and my personal skill was to qualify as a paramedic. And then if the guys like you, at the end of that 12 months, you're then qualified, you get your special forces pay, and you're allowed to stay for another 2 years before you're reassessed. Not by doing the test, just by reassessing. Are we going to keep him or are we going to lose him? Yeah. Easy.